This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast. It's Thursday, December the 8th today. An action-packed program that actually had a fair bit of news that came after the show with the release of Brittney Griner, WNBA star out of Russian prison this morning. An arms dealer went the other way, which you could say, well, wait a minute. Why would we release a murderer?
We didn't release that person.
Why would we agree, the Western world, to agree to send an arms dealer back out into society in exchange for a basketball player? And the answer is because it's the right thing to do, probably. And B, the arms dealer will be dead within 48 hours of the plane landing.
Yeah, you said that. That kind of caught me off guard because I wouldn't have thought that. I would think that they would drill him and try to get as much information out of him as they could. Well, that's what the Americans did. Now, we got all the info we could out of him, so let's let Russia look after him now. He's not going back to get greeted at the airport like she will be greeted. You don't think
when she lands in Russia? No.
No?
No. Won't go back a conquering hero. Never hear from him again. Not even sure what that mound of dirt is. So that got looked after today. Well,
Joe Biden has said that they're not going to forget the other man. There's another former U.S. Marine was arrested for allegedly spying back in 2020. No, he's been there 4 years, so that would be 2018. Paul Whelan, because they had hoped to have him released as well, but the deal didn't work that way. So they're still trying to work to release him as well.
Okay, so we got some work to do there. So that's going on. What else was happening this morning? I mentioned it's the anniversary of the death of John Lennon. I say the death like it was natural causes. I don't want to give Mark David Chapman any more press than, but 42 years ago, John Lennon has been deceased longer than he was alive. I mean, it'll happen to all of us.
Yeah. Well,
eternity is a long time. But
I did have to ask you how old he was when he passed away, because I saw that it had been 42 years. I thought, well, how old
Younger
was he?
than you are now.
I know.
Mm-hmm. So I remember when I got that message, it was late at night. I think he was killed about 10:15 or 10 o'clock, something. By 11:15, it was around the world, released on radio stations and television stations within the hour. So that was going on today. And then before we get into the miracles, I want to share one because Elon Musk is no longer the man's richest, or the richest man in the world. Mm-hmm. He's only worth $185.3 billion. The oil is now $185.4, which is Bernard Arnault, who is the chief executive officer of a luxury brand, Louis Vuitton. He and his family are worth $185.4, so they're the richest now. So, I mean, if Tesla or Twitter stock goes up, Elon gets it back, but whatever. So there's not a lot of love for billionaires in the world. When we're paying what we're paying for gas, we're shopping at Christmas, we're seeing inflation, billionaires can go pound salt. And then I read the story of Ken Griffin. So I thought, let's at least, because it's our show, and we try to be nicer people than all of that, let's at least give credit where it's due. So Ken Griffin owns Citadel and Citadel Securities, and he's got over 10,000 staff members around the world. It's a hedge fund. So he's a billionaire because he looks after people's money. So he said that he was going to put something together for Christmas for his staff. What he did is all 10,000 of his staff and their families would get flown in from wherever they are in the world to Disney World. Oh, isn't that great?
That's amazing.
How much would the plane tickets have cost? Okay.
I have no idea how much that would cost.
So they stay at the Disney resort. Oh, well, how much is that going to cost? He's paying for all of it. Mm-hmm. And shut down Disney World for 3 days for just he and his staff.
That's amazing.
Tens of thousands of people and their families.
That's what I mean. I said to you afterwards, a family of 4, you're looking at probably $10,000 per family.
Yeah.
So think about that.
And the exclusivity of having it.
Staying in the park.
Yeah.
Everything included, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And by the way, you know, the food that they serve at the canteens, no. He had lamb chops, sushi. Mm-hmm. So we're going to crank that up a little bit.
Meal plans in.
Okay. So now how much is that going to cost? And at the end of the third day, he flies in Coldplay and Carly Rae Jepsen for a private concert for the whole crowd.
That's amazing.
3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. and he foot the entire bill for that experience.
It's amazing.
And I know he's a billionaire, so he can afford it, but he didn't have to.
Yeah.
But he did.
Good for him.
So Ken Griffin, Santa's nice list, even as a billionaire. That's kind of a cool story this morning. The better stories were the miracles.
Oh, yes, they were. We've been talking about Hallmark movies all this week, and one of the common threads that we tend to see in each Hallmark Lifetime Christmas movie is, of course, the Christmas miracle.
Right.
You know it's coming.
Sure.
You know it's going to happen.
And you know how it starts, of course, is that there's one of two characters in the movie, and you clearly identified one. The single old man with the beard is really Santa.
Exactly.
And the older woman who was always by herself and caught off camera, but the camera pans to her, she's an angel. Okay, so pay attention to those two plot vehicles.
When you're watching these shows.
And if you see those characters portrayed, there will be a miracle at the end. And it's always very heartwarming. So Charity and I thought, okay, there have got to be real Christmas miracles.
We hope there's real Christmas miracles.
Performed on our own listeners.
Yes.
So we put it up on Facebook and asked you, okay, legit Christmas miracles. Not, I ran into the beer store and they had one more case on Christmas Eve. That's not a miracle.
And saved Christmas.
That's just good timing on your part. But a legit Christmas miracle. We got a handful of them, but we want to thank you for it. And then we got one that stopped the show in its tracks, and Charity could barely get through it because she has a heart the size of Christmas. Get a load of these, starting with Evelyn and her father. This is remarkable. So her father was playing hockey in October. He was 65 at the time. 75 at the time. Still playing hockey. And collapsed when he came off the ice. I've heard this story before. This happens to people. Brought him back, got him to a hospital. These are the guys in the dressing room. So smart guys in the dressing room. And over the next 24 hours, slipped out of consciousness 21 other times.
Not consciousness. They had to bring him back 22 times.
22 times. They're fighting the hereafter to bring him back.
In 24 hours.
22 times by Christmas, the week before Christmas. He was finally
14 days
released.
before Christmas.
Released from the hospital. And that was 10 years ago, going strong.
Yep.
85 years
Celebrated
old now.
his 85th birthday this year.
Attaboy. Christmas miracle.
Absolutely.
Super duper. Okay, so there was that one. Then there's a delightful young woman in Campbellford.
Yes, Melita, who as a youth was growing up in Campbellford, went to do some Christmas shopping after being given $50 from her mom, lost the $50. And it happens.
Yeah.
She felt horrible.
Of course you do.
Met up with her mom for lunch at a local restaurant. The two are talking and she's quite upset and she explains to her mom what happened. And her mom, because it is close to Christmas, says, well, that it is awful, but I can't afford to give you another $50 to do your Christmas shopping. I'm sorry. An older couple listening nearby overheard what was going on, approached the table and offered to give this young lady money. And of course, she and her mom turned it away and they said, no, we insist. We want you to be able to do this. And it would make us feel better if you could just go and do it. And then left the restaurant, and the mother and daughter were in such shock. It took them a few seconds, but then they went to get up and go out and thank the couple, to run after them out the door. And when they stepped outside, the couple was gone. Gone.
They weren't there.
They weren't there. There was nobody on the street. They looked up and down and around, and this couple had disappeared from the street. So that really hit you because that was shared yesterday. And when they wrote that in, I told you about it. You're like, oh, wow.
See, that's the one. We got a text one this morning after hours that a woman said her brother was driving late
this one gave me chills.
And I'm going to assume it's either coming home for Christmas or close by. And he's driving and he can hear what sounds like knocking on his window, on the side window. Like you're driving. Like that would, like you don't expect to ever hear, but he kept driving. It got louder and more often. So thinking that he's probably more tired and hallucinating or whatever, pulled over the side of the road. It was cold, said, lit up a dart, went sort of walking up and down the car. And within seconds, because it was the bottom of a hill, within seconds from the top of the hill, a transport truck was coming down the road in the wrong lane.
Yeah, had fallen asleep at the wheel.
Because the driver had fallen asleep And they said, had he not stopped, they think he would have been killed. He would have been struck. His mother, he was thinking of his mother, Christmas time.
Who had passed away just a few months before.
Yeah. And thinks that she was knocking on the window to get him to pull over.
Of course she was.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
That's so
Christmas
creepy.
miracle. So those two are from beyond. What about a healing one?
Oh.
Get a load of this one that stopped the show in its tracks this morning.
Dennis wrote in saying he and his wife received their Christmas miracle a few years ago, Christmas morning, 1977. They were told by many doctors that their son, who was born in 1973, would never walk and probably wouldn't make it past the age of 40. He'd be fortunate if he made it to 40.
Right.
So not to be deterred, Dennis and his wife worked with their son every day, exercising his legs. And then Christmas morning, 1977, they heard a noise and they thought it might have been their son falling out of bed. But a few moments later, in he walked. Their son walked into their bedroom. They broke out into tears of joy. And in 2013, their son reached his 40th birthday. And he wrote in saying now he's 48 and looks back now and says they received two miracles. One, that their son is walking, and now it looks like he's going to have a full lifetime.
Yeah.
So it is incredible. See,
He
I'm not
walked
crying. You're
first.
disappointed I'm not crying.
No, I'm glad. Good for you.
Because I cried twice this morning reading that story.
40.
But to be told that your child will never be able to do something, never be able to live longer than, that's what really got me. Because as a parent, you're like, it would be crushing. It would just break your heart because you want them to be healthy and safe and have a happy, fulfilled life. So to be told that, it's incredible. So I to hear that that's not what happened at all. Miracles can happen.
You wake up Christmas morning and your son, who you thought would never walk, walks into your bedroom on Christmas Day.
Best gift ever.
Holy smokes. Wow.
The best.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you, Dennis.
They're up on our Facebook page if you want to read the others, which are no less miraculous or important.
No.
Just time is what it is.
All of these stories are
Please
incredible.
share them and feel free to add those in there, unless they're highly personal. We get that because we
absolutely.
But wow. So
but miracles can clearly happen.
They can.
Pay attention.
So they
happen every day.
That was great. Thank you for sharing that to everybody. And what else did we have going on this morning? That was a pretty full show.
Well, and then we did talk about
Google searches,
because we have 4 weeks left of 2022, so we knew it would be every year the lists come out, winding down the year, wrapping up the year. So Google released their most searched for terms and words of 2022. After it was revealed, I thought, okay, it makes sense, but initially I was surprised that the most searched word was Wordle.
Wordle, yeah.
It took people, I guess, a while to catch on to it, to realize what it was, because that's what Google is, right? It's a search engine.
Sure.
So people clearly had questions about what Wordle was.
Right. Yep.
And it is over a year old. I want to say, the first one came out last November. That's when the guy from New Jersey.
Something like that, yeah.
And then it kind of hit early last year, really hit, and everybody
Big
was
time,
doing it.
And then he got purchased for small 7 figures. I'll say 3 million the Times. And then they've just rehired an editor for that game.
Yes, for that game specifically.
How did I miss that job posting?
Well, and there's so many different branches to it. You should come up with your own now. There's so many different ways. You name it.
Erdl.
They have there's an Erdl out there for it.
Yep. There's
now I don't
Nerdle, which is the math one. There's Loodle, which is 5-letter dirty
Hurdle
words.
with the music.
Hurdle with the music. Canuckle, which is Canadian. Movie doll.
And I can't even say the one
doll.
I do.
Yeah, you
I
do
haven't
the
done
one
the
that's
poster
16
doll.
words. You have to get 16 and 21 guesses.
Yes.
She is a rock star,
amazing.
everybody.
I love it.
I know.
Wordle's fun, but that one, I like that one.
That's just the gateway to the fun stuff.
It really is the gateway.
But let's talk about, I had mentioned all of the other lists, and I'd said that Félix Auger-Aliassime is going to be my vote for the Canadian Athlete of the Year.
Yeah.
He finished second. It was actually released. And
I heard.
Missed Marie-Philip Poulin won. And A, shame on me for not thinking of a woman, but B, double shame on me for forgetting it was the Winter Olympics in 2022.
Yes. Do you know how happy I was when I heard that this morning?
Did I. When I saw the picture,
you.
I went, oh, of course.
Of course.
If I had even remembered that the Olympics. But again, and why did I say I would have picked him? Because it was more recent. I had forgotten.
Yeah.
Thank goodness the actual people who really vote on this stuff pay attention to the important details. Like that happened back in February, and this country exploded when we won that gold medal. And she was so instrumental
Yes.
on it but then over time, because I'm a chucklehead, I forgot about the Winter
Mark,
Olympics.
it was the greatest moment ever in
was
hockey in
hockey
Canada.
history. Yeah.
It was hockey
Not just
history.
women's hockey, hockey history. Equated probably with the 2010
That's all I could think of
goal.
when I saw that story. I'm like,
Sidney
yeah.
Crosby, but
well, no,
yeah.
I was thinking back to the soccer. I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you. You
Yeah.
got it right. This is good. I
Yeah,
like this.
so good for her. Good on that. So
No, I give Sid that goal. That was a good goal too.
but that was equally so that was fabulous. So
Yeah,
that list came out.
that's
so
exciting.
I had mentioned that yesterday. So I fall on my sword. I take my medicine. I got that one horribly wrong. And I'm ever glad I did. Felix, he's got plenty of time in his career to win this stuff, but that
But that's what's nice
goal
about
and Marie-Philippe definitely deserved that.
that's what's nice about these lists because you do forget. By the end of the year,
yeah.
you forget what happened
Yeah, like-
January through April. at
Like
the beginning.
Antonio Brown was the most searched athlete.
And I had to ask you who that was. I had to Google it because I had forgotten.
The
who
year
he
Aaron
was.
Judge breaks the record and
Yeah.
Serena Williams retires.
But again, that kind of proves it too. I had to Google to see who he was. And
Yeah.
that was the point of Google's list. We already know Serena Williams. She was all over the place. So you really didn't have to Google her or Aaron Judge because the headlines have been so big. Like, as you pointed out yesterday, he's been making headlines all season, right? He's been at the top of the news for a lot of things. So I think maybe people are just more familiar with him. The Antonio
Just
Brown.
had to click, didn't have to Google.
Yeah, the Antonio Brown. I would have had to Google that one, and that's why he's their athlete, their most searched athlete.
Tampa Bay Buccaneer left in the middle of the game, took his jersey off, told the crowd, F you clowns.
Because when did that happen?
I thought it actually happened at the end of last year, but it probably would have continued into the playoffs into January,
Okay,
which would
yeah.
make sense. And then every once in a while, his name comes up as like, maybe I'll come back into football. Well, who would want you, first of all?
Yeah, if you're going to behave that way.
I mean, I know you can catch a ball and everybody gets a bunch of chances if you're talented in sports, but seriously, but anyway, so he was the most. And but Liv wasn't there. Remember how you had thought
Yep.
Liv might be there? True, right? But Americans don't like Liv, so they didn't look it up.
As the top story, yes. I think I'm surprised it wasn't on Google's list too.
Yeah, Adam Levine was the top sort of singer-performer, entertainer.
And that surprised me because, again, I would think most people
Lots
would
of
know
other
who
people.
Adam Levine was,
Or what was he
unless they were
doing?
Googling the story itself.
Maybe.
The scandal.
Was that the big scandal? The
He was
that
texting women,
Yeah.
Being, well, flirtatiously. I don't know if they were actually sexting.
More
but
so than
flirtatious.
anything Taylor Swift went through from Ticketmaster. Like I was
but they
just
weren't.
surprised.
Were they Googling Taylor Swift or were they Googling
See, again, you're right. You're right.
Ticketmaster?
I'm confusing biggest news story
Like, yeah.
clicks rather than just Google
Trying to
searches.
because
You're
Google,
right.
yeah, Google is it's a search engine, so you
Yeah.
would use it more. Because I did that too. I was like, why is that? Well, yeah, because people probably don't know about that. Euphoria, for instance, huge show starring Zendaya. I had to Google it a few times this year.
Didn't know it.
Didn't
Yeah.
know it.
I still don't know.
But after Spider-Man and her, she kind of got a little more
Right.
FaceTime. All of a sudden, this show Euphoria started to gain
Mm-hmm.
popularity too. So, but Stranger Things was one of the Googled ones. How are you not on Stranger Things?
How was Kate Bush? She was in the top 10 of most Googled performers, Kate Bush. Because
Guilty.
people wanted to know. Yeah.
Guilty.
It's
Was
like,
not
what?
familiar with Kate Bush before
Right.
Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And it does go hand in hand because the movie was Encanto. The top searched for movie on Google
Yep.
was Encanto. And the song was We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Bruno. Yeah, it was
so it's
number
kind of
one.
like, okay, I hear the song. Where's it from? Let's
Yeah.
Google it. Oh, what's that movie about? Let's Google it. So, yeah, but it is interesting to go back because Encanto, again, was released late last year.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until 2022 that people kind of got on board with it. So
Yeah,
it's,
so that's out there.
kind of cool to look back and see. And it's just the beginning. We will have more lists for
there
you
will
in
be.
the coming weeks.
Plenty of lists.
Everything.
Oh my gosh. We'll have those. Coming up tomorrow morning is Rumor Day with Jimmy Hollywood. He'll be in at 7:50 for Team Guernsey. We got our phones fixed up today. I still don't know what that was all about.
I don't either.
But we got that fixed.
He was very relieved to be back today.
Dad joke for Galaxy of Games. We'll have your holiday dad joke.
So more chances to win with Beauty Works.
And we'll have day 7 on the 12 Strays of Christmas today as a husky. You got to go see a picture of Luke on our Facebook page.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
He's so cute. Very high energy because he's a
Yeah.
husky,
Yeah.
but just a beautiful dog.
mean, you're going to want him around when the snow hits and you need to get somewhere. You're going to need you attach.
He will get you through.
That's right. You just put the sled behind him and away he takes you up to the Quinte Mall in no time. You're there.
Now, he doesn't do well with kids, but wouldn't that be fun to have a husky who would pull a sleigh of kids?
Yeah. Oh,
that would be so cute.
We'll Google it.
We'll Google it.
I'm sure it happens. When I was a youngster, a very young man in my pre-tens, a singular digit.
Oh, wow. Very young.
We go visit my aunt in London when we lived in Windsor. And next door was a husky named Stormy.
Ooh.
Just such a great name. And the street, they would never build streets now like they did in Byron, which is outside London. And it was also, all of the homes were almost stepped up and down, like the street went downhill. So the house, so their backyard was maybe 4 feet higher than my aunt's backyard. So my head would get to their bottom of their fence.
Oh, okay.
And Stormy would stick his nose out and we would almost go like nose to nose, me and Stormy. But they said the same thing. They knew that I loved the dog and the dog liked me, but they said, for your safety, please don't come over and play with him. He's too rambunctious.
Yeah.
I might have been 7.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would just, like a moron, run up and down the fence, and the dog would run up and down with it. We would do that for hours.
With the fence between you.
Yep, and it'd just get tuckered out.
Good for both of you.
Good for both of us.
Yeah.
So I was well
Where's
trained.
Mark? He's playing with the dog, and you just see him running up and down.
Back and forth. And I think when I got older, I went in and could pet and play with him, and he kind of calmed down and wasn't. But that same thing. Be very careful with a husky around children. They're very, like, they love the kids, but they're just so rambunctious.
Yeah, they get too excited, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, with any dog, that
jump
can happen.
on them or bounce them or knock them over or something can happen. And but yeah, so good.
He's so cute.
So good. All coming up tomorrow. It's Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast. Join us wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe. It's up by 11 o'clock in the morning. And we'll be talking tomorrow morning on 95.5 Hits FM. Talk to you then.